This will be a mental health series. This is similar to something I did quite a few years ago, but no longer exists on the channel anymore. Now, when talking about mental health and stuff of that nature, I believe at least the way that I want to do it is transparency. So, quite a few disclaimers here. I am not a professional. I have never been trained. I just suffer with a hell of a lot of mental health problems slash quote unquote conditions. And I've been through a lot in my life. So, not professional, no training whatsoever. This is just me as a human being, just talking through experiences, possibly talking through, again, quote unquote, conditions. And that is it, basically. I hope through this series that I will possibly be able to work through some stuff, maybe be able to help people, maybe. But mainly it's because I'm not a professional. I guess this is a place where I can talk that is safe and will be safe for you guys. So whether you guys get in on the conversation or not, that is completely up to you, and I completely understand. But more so, this is kind of a safe place. I can express myself. You guys can express yourself. Within that, though, trigger warnings. I'm not intending to trigger anyone. I don't want that, but obviously, when talking about mental health, stuff can get quite heavy, stuff can get quite serious, as it should be with mental health. Yeah, so I'm not intending to trigger, but trigger warnings ahead. Okay, guys, so this is going to be a video of me catching you guys up on my mental health. I kind of said in the last one that I did of these, there could be something that I'll be able to do and hopefully get help. So, yeah, I wanted to do this video and let you guys know. So, after everything that happened and after all the systems here basically went, nah, you're fine and you don't need help and all that, I basically got to it got real dark. I'll put it that way. It got real dark. I was running out. I was like, I'm done. I can't do this. And I found a number, or I found a number for Mind, and I rang them. I went in, explained everything that's been going on, and they basically said, yeah, we'll take you on. Now, an important part of this story, and I want to kind of be careful how I explain this. Basically, mine very openly at the start said, look, we deal with low to moderate, right? They explained that very openly. And I was like, well, look, mine's whatever the wording is, it's a step ahead of that or a few steps ahead of that. And they were like, okay, well, we're going to see what we can do. And this is the important part of this story, and obviously I'm still on this journey. I'm still, um, I'm honestly not well at the moment. I'm really not. But part of this story is that they're trying and they're putting the effort in. Now, sometimes trying isn't enough, right? Sometimes you are in so much crisis you need something, right? Whatever that may be, whether it's a person, whether it's a thing, whether it's medication, whatever it might be, right? And sometimes someone saying, I am going to try for you, or I guess a company or whatever, however you want to word that, saying they will try, um, is, I'm not going to say it's enough, because I think that's not the words that I want to use here. But what it has done is, I'm not battling alone. And as I said, they don't really know how to help me right now, because as I said, they very openly said, look, we're used to, we're set up to deal with low to moderate, right? But that trying aspect, that, okay, we have no idea what to do or how to help you, but we're gonna try. And we're gonna bust our asses off. There's only been one person so far that I've interacted with that I was like, well, don't want to talk to you anymore. But that's a whole other story, to be honest, and it's not that important because I don't think, at least in my mind, anyway, they don't. At least with my interactions, anyway, they don't represent mind. They don't represent what mind is trying to do. I will say I got very lucky in the fact that I don't live that far away from a quote unquote mind office. So I can just go there if I'm having a bad day, and I have done a few times. And there was one time I went there and the space was completely full, and they basically just took me up to the offices, which I'm not sure if they were supposed to do that or were allowed to do that, but they did. They saw that I was in crisis. Like, they took one look at me and was like, oh god, okay. My point is that usually with these videos, I deal with very black and white. And I guess that's just the way my mind is. I deal with very kind of, yeah, but they didn't really do the thing, right? And there are senses of that. There are kind of, okay, well, okay, I needed you to do this thing, but it's not been done. Okay, cool. But that aspect of trying, when they're undermanned, they're underfunded, they don't know what to do with me, and if anything, those guys should have been the ones that mind, should have been the ones to turn me down and go, well, we're not set up to deal with someone like you, and they didn't. And I think it's weird, right? Because although they've been trying the most to help me, the thing that's actually been circling around my head since it was kind of set up and they said, look, you're welcome here, etc., etc., is that how messed up the system is set up. And what I mean by that is specifically the NHS. And I'm not trying to bash on the NHS, I'm not. But when an underfunded charity, undermanned, and they openly say we're not set up to deal with you, and they still take me on. That the NHS should be ashamed, because yes, okay, there's budgets and there's all that, right? But there is a part of me that goes, if they can do this much with what they have, which is very little and very limited, then why the fuck can't the NHS? And my point of this story, as I said, is not to shit on the NHS, it's to sing the praises of mine. And I understand that every kind of base or location may work differently, so this isn't me saying, well, if you're having troubles, guys, oh, sheiks, go here, because they've got that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when everywhere had closed their doors, they kept the doors open, and being open about it and saying what they could or couldn't deal with, which is important, or at least important to me, that open dialogue that was had. And it's, and it's weird actually, because the thought did kind of come into my head that actually if they did have more manpower, if they did have a budget rather than a charity, I'm sure within that there's a budget, right? But I mean a budget like the NHS or anything, would that solely then make it corrupt? And because they are kind of freelance, for lack of a better term, and outside of that space and outside of that system, does that mean that they push and try harder? And it is something that's kind of not necessarily troubled me, but it is something that's made me think that, is that where the troubles start? Or not start, but is that where the troubles are? Because they just fall back on that and go, well, we don't have the budget, we don't have the staff, so no, we're not going to help you. With regards to NHS and mental health places and stuff of that nature. And I do wonder, I don't know. Again, I'm just trying to be open. You guys know that with these videos, even if it's I'm sad or I'm angry, or it's a video like that, or like this, sorry, of just updating you or going through my personal experiences, that I try to be as honest and as upfront as I can. And I think that something's got to be done. I don't think it will, at least for many, many years, like probably past my lifetime, right? But again, I'm not necessarily saying mind, because, you know, there is, it can differ depending what location and where people are, and how it's all set up. But there is something out there. Even if, again, even with that conversation, right, of we're not set up to deal with you, take the doors that are open. I've had to learn that. I joined a group kind of, not therapy, but group session system. And I've always said there's no point in putting me in a group session just because of the way my mind works, etc., etc. But I took it, and yeah, it's not the best for me personally, but it is something, and they offered it. And as I said, the open door of that. So yeah, I want to end it here, guys. As I said, I'm not trying to put the bat signal out there of mind is the only way to go. That's not what I'm trying to do. Just there is something. It's just, it may be the most unlikely, or it might be the thing that is overlooked. So yeah, I guess ending this video, guys, be mindful out there.